All right, that was a nice, it's good to carry two computers, isn't it? Are we good to go? All right. So, thank you for coming to my talk about shaving the yak with AI. How many people have already been to the YakShaver booth? Okay, only 20% maybe. All right, so we've got plenty of you that don't know what this session is about. But this is about getting fast specs to devs and helping product owners have a more enjoyable experience. And this is one of the most interesting talks I've ever written. I did it with a bunch of the guys in the office, and it is a full-on AI project from start to end. So I'm just going to tell you that there is an app. You can scan this. It's a rewards app. You can scan people around the conference. It's a great way of going up to people and just going, can I have your QR code, and forming a relationship with somebody. It's a good start. And that's why we come to these conferences. So this is how I've broken my talk down. I talk about this yak shaving dilemma, then I want to give you a bit of a demo, and then I want to talk about transforming just words into work items or issues or PBIs or whatever you call them. And then I want to walk through all the lessons we learnt, and some of these lessons were quite expensive. AI is a new world for us and for all of us, I guess, but we typically built enterprise.NET solutions. So this was a different way of building a solution. And then I want to talk to you about the road ahead with agents, MCPs, etc. So this is a little bit about me. I'm a Microsoft Regional Director. I'm the Chief Architect at SSW. These days, we are doing a lot of work on AI. And in fact, in our company, .NET was always number one, and then were mobile apps, and then there was Power Apps, data, Power BI, Power Platform stuff. Right now, AI is our number two. It's gone from pretty much the bottom to our second biggest category. That's my blog. I blog at adamcogan.com. And this is how this started. You're in a meeting. You're racing towards a deadline. Could be a finance meeting, could be just a meeting about priorities, whatever. And you see a bug, like an auth bug, or you see something, okay? Now, that's weird. That shouldn't be happening. We just went to Troy Hunt's session. We know that we shouldn't have those weird rules on passwords, and it's blocking people. So what do? I think you can break this down to 4 types of responses, how you deal with this. Okay, and remember, it could be something as simple as a broken link on your homepage, or something complicated in a login screen and a kind of esoteric problem. So you could pretend it doesn't exist. I see this happen a lot. But at least the meeting keeps on track. But if everyone does this, the bug will persist until you come down that rabbit hole again. You can scribble on a piece of paper, login bug, and you'll get to that later. I've done that. So at least we carry on with the meeting. There's a little note there, you'll get back to it. I often look through my own notes myself and do some of them. And other times I look at it and I go, what was I talking about? Login bug? I can't remember. I know it was something to do with that screen, but anyway, let's just move on. So as you do that later, like a week later, you really can't remember what the hell you wrote. And you go from meeting to meeting to meeting, so you won't get around to this. So the third option is what I call half-arse it. And this is when you see a problem and you quickly take a screenshot and you say, hey, Josh, can you do that for me? And hopefully he will do it. He may do it, he may not. You're often unsure yourself, and he might not say it in the way you want it said. He might pick up the wrong thing because there was a bit more to it, but you quickly just told him because you want to carry on with the meeting. This is fast. You get little to no context, and the worst thing is some of these don't happen. Like I ping these to different people and they don't always happen. So there is the option D, and that is just stop. I'll take a screenshot, I'll put it in an email, I will detail it correctly, I'll get the people next to me to check it, and then I'll send it off to the right person so that problem gets fixed. It's a, I don't want anyone to experience this, and I want it fixed fast. It derails the meeting. That's a problem. People can get frustrated. When this happens over and over again, this is called YakShaving. How many people have heard this term YakShaving before this conference? Okay, so about a third of you. All right. You're going to be experts at YakShaving by the end of this. All right. So what is YakShaving exactly? Well, I went back, because I had this conversation with Scott Hanselman a long time ago, and I saw this. It's 10 years ago that we were all talking about this in a regional director meeting. So I think this is the best way to explain it. Watch this. Wonderful, wonderful. All right. So, who's experienced this YakShaving before? Okay, all right, all of us, that's awesome. So, I want to know, how do you guys handle it? Are you mostly an A person? You're in a meeting with other people, you see a bug, you ignore it. Who's an A person? Okay, keep the meeting on track, got it. A few. Who says, put a pin in it, I'll quickly jot it down some way, I'll worry about this later. Okay, so that's possibly a third. Who's a half-ass at give it to somebody else? Yep, can you take that down? Are you the scribe? Could you do that? Who is a D? Stop, take a screenshot, put it, let's get this fixed. We're all seeing the same problem. Okay, so there's only a few of us. So that looks like B was the big winner, C was the second biggest winner, and A and D were the lowest, all right? Well, I'm going to explain to you. If you choose option D, you're the hero of the dev team because you give beautiful specs. But everyone dreads meetings with you. That's been my experience. The problem is that's the first bug you notice in a meeting, and there's a few of these that go on and on. So what if there was a fifth option? Well, AI to the rescue, and AI is going to change the way we work. If it's not YakShaver, there's going to be another way that these things get solved, more automatically than in the past. So I'm going to give you an example of doing this, all right? Now, this is somewhat of a real example because I was pinged this just recently and said, can I give some feedback on the new clean architecture template on just a simple website, northwind.365. So I have a quick look down it. Yep, they've done some videos, looks good. I like most of it. Okay, there's one little problem I can see with that features. I don't like it, so I'll just explain it. Now I could send an email with a screenshot, I could do all that, but I'll just show you I'm in the middle of a meeting. So you can use any tool you want. Most of us are in a Teams meeting, so we hit record, but I'm just by myself right now, so I'm gonna hit Windows, Shift R. You all have this on your computer, on your PC, and if you're on a Mac, there's an equivalent tool. So this is the Windows snipping tool. It's pretty useless actually, but it does this. So I include the entire screen right down to the corner because if people get to it later, I want them to see the date, okay? So I'm going to press start, and when you press start, it'll give you a countdown. It's a little bit slow, so you have to wait like a second after it started. All right, g'day guys. The Northwind 365 website looks pretty good actually. I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, nice video. I think it looks pretty clean. Look, I have a bit of a problem with the features heading. It's like that line, that red line is so fat, it almost looks like strike through to me. Can you fix that? So that's 20 seconds, all right? And that's all I did actually. I just record it and do it. And I do this many, many times every day. And so does everybody in our company now. We've had it for more than 6 months. All right, so I want to tell you how that works under the covers. All right, but that was the entire thing. So let's talk about transforming words into actions. Now, this is how it works. We have a workflow, and I'm going to talk, this is part one, the workflow. But there's two parts to this. Let's just talk about the left-hand side first. I'll just jump into here. You use whatever screen recording tool that you want, and you can use Snagit. Many of the guys use Mac tools. You can use Teams. That throws it into a OneDrive folder, and it converts it to an audio file to make it smaller. And then we throw it over to Whisper, which turns it into a transcript. Then what we do, we've got a transcript, but in a company you use lots of different lingo. You know, different words mean different things. So you throw in the extra stuff. So out of the box, it can be fed dynamic stuff, GitHub stuff, Azure DevOps, and Entra ID. Right? So you know users in your company, you know projects in your company, you know terms in your company. And then we fix up the script, and then we work out how confident are we about certain things. Which project are they talking about? Which user are they referring to? Okay? And if we have a high level of confidence, which means over 70%, it throws it in and creates it. Now, if it's not sure, it'll ask a couple of questions, which is pretty rare, by the way. It's almost never. And then it will look at your company templates. Now, our templates say with a bug, always give acceptance criteria, always put repro steps, put an image. I don't ever send a bug without an image, etc. And it'd be great if they always had a video, wouldn't it? And then it sends the work item, or it sends an email. So let's go and have a quick look at this. So this throws it into, I need the OneDrive folder. But it throws it into a OneDrive folder, and then it processes it, and you'll see it created. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like after being created. It will pick up the project, Northwind. It will give it a nice title, Fixing Styling Issue for Features Text. It will assign it to someone if you ask for it, but typically you just throw it on the backlog. And it will automatically know the right people to mention here because they're stakeholders of the project, okay? So that's pretty clever. You don't have to think, who runs that project? I've got a bug with Dynamics. I don't know who looks after it, but can you fix it? Okay, it doesn't work on my mobile phone or whatever. So then you can click Open Work Item. And when you open the work item, it will show you what's there. So it will give you that title. It will put the pane, the acceptance criteria, the repro steps. Now, the most important thing, if you ask me, is this link at the top that says watch the video, 20 seconds. You just record it, they've always got it. And we'll come back to that a little later. But at the bottom here, you'll see there's a screenshot. I can click on this link and you'll see exactly what it looks like. But I'll have the screenshot. See how it knows to take the screenshot when I was talking about features. Isn't it friggin' clever? And then it will always put a figure there. The figure looks like it's been struck through, okay? So, you know, the acceptance criteria, the features text should be underlined, not struck through, okay? Not exactly correct, but kind of what I was saying. Styling should be consistent with the underlined text. Changes should be tested across different browsers. I didn't even say that. All right. Now, what I want you to know is, you know, usually at NDC I've given away different tools we've written. This one has AI costs. Everyone at NDC is getting 3 months for free on this, and you can go to the booth and get that. Anyone at this session is getting 6 months for free. So all you have to do is go to the site. I'll just go to the site, YakShaver, and there is a waitlist that you can join. So you click join the waitlist and just write in there, attended a session today, and you'll get the 6 months. All right? Okay, so let's move on. Now, I thought everybody reports a bug like me, you know? Look at that problem. This is what I expect to see. And I thought people describe a feature the way I do it. But there's plenty of people that do it differently. And I asked Troy, and Troy does it like this. So watch this. he goes and it just whinges.
Trying to create an account on DJI.com from my drone. I'm having problems with the password. So I want to go to the password field. I've got one password here, but I like a really long password. Yeah, really, really long, like 54 characters. So, okay, autofill that. Cool. There's my really long password. One password pops up, wants to save it. Submit button doesn't work, or it's grayed out. But when I press the submit button, then it goes red and says, all right, it's got to be a maximum of 20 characters, which is really weird because I could put more than 50 in. And when you look at the dev tools here, there's a max length of 100 characters. So you've got to fix the max length. Got to make it clear on the screen it's limited to 20. Also, don't limit it to 20. There should not be a practical limit on the field length. Let's make it a couple of hundred, something like that. And then there's another problem as well, because if I go and I null these fields out and I go back and I use a suggested password that is 20 characters long, and I'll just turn on the little eyes here. If I make one of these characters a backslash, let's change the underscore, doesn't match, fine, make that one a backslash. Now they match, it's still not happy. Well, now I click away and the warning goes, the submit button's still grayed out, but then I press submit and it's giving me an error that doesn't make sense. And then also the error is saying that I need to have between 8 and 20 characters include at least 2 or 3 of letters, numbers and symbols, which is arbitrary password complexity criteria, which we are meant to be throwing out. So don't do that either. So there's a heap of different things to fix with DJI.
So Troy runs How I've Been Pwned, and he has an Icelandic guy working for him. And I was sitting down with the Icelandic guy, talking through how he gets stuff from Troy. And that's kind of how Troy works. Just talks about a thing and what he doesn't like. But it's not how we ever report bugs in our company. And
count on
so let me just walk through this. This is what it created. Puts it in the project DJI. Bug, password length, password field length and validation issues. And then if we open this guy, this is what it looks like. So it's requested by Troy Hunt. There's the video of him, 2 minutes, describing, I would describe that way different. But it does it. It says, user experienced these issues. The acceptance criteria, the password should allow up to 100 as indicated by max length. The submit button should not be enabled should be enabled when a valid password is entered. Backslash, it just goes on and on. It really, makes that description pretty succinct. Includes a screenshot, well, he's only talking about one thing really. And figure, password length mismatch, front end, shows max of 20 characters. Dev tools show max of 100. So it's been fascinating to watch how different people work. Anyway, there it is. And there's the beautiful screenshot. Okay. So it's not just for bugs, it's for features as well. Now, I want you to see now the sausage being made, okay? So this is the leaderboard now. And I want you to see Yuli and I just saying, why don't we show whether it's a bug or a feature? We often have clients say, hey, that's a bug. And we go, hang on, you never asked for it before. Maybe it's obvious to you, but you never asked for it. That's a feature, not a bug. Of course, it matters a lot more if you're doing fixed price projects, bugs and features. And so, Yuli and I just pulled open V0. Who uses V0 in this room? Who's used it once? Wow, only 4 people in this room at NDC. All right, forget everything I've been talking about. This is the most important tip that I can give you. Use V0, you type a command of what you wanted, which is, in this case, Yuli just put the screenshot into V0 and said, can you give me that, but give me number of bugs, number of features, as well as columns. And it just mocks it up for you. Every time a client is on the call with you and they're describing, I want a pricing page, but I want like 4 levels, just type, instead of on your email, type in V0. I want a pricing page and 4 levels, And then just take a screenshot and ping it to him and say, are you talking about something like that? Watch them get blown away, right? Whatever they ask for, just type it, throw it into V0, buy verse sell. That's the best tip of the conference, by the way, if you're not using it. But this is what Yuli did. He pulls this open, he pulls open V0. In 20 seconds, he has this screenshot. He puts it on the right, and then he calls me over and says, I'm going to YakShave this, do you want to listen?
A new feature request for the YakShaver leaderboard. So in YakShaver, when you open up the leaderboard here, it just says the number of shaves. What it would be cool is if it actually broke that down by number of bugs versus number of features, because then you can kind of see the people who are finding problems and the people who are having ideas.
Yeah, and there's always a big discussion, is that a bug or a feature? So if YakShaver can do that, people are going to love it.
Yeah. Now notice on the right hand side, this is just something we've mocked up with V0. So yeah, we're basically adding 2 columns before the last number of shaves, which shows the breakdown of how many of those were bugs and how many of those were features. Now I'm assuming this might need a schema change to how we're storing the work items, so that we actually can track whether it's a bug or a feature. So we might need to add that too.
You also have currently, when it is a bug, it puts the bug emoji with the word bug, so it could use this.
And also when it's a feature, it has the sparkles emoji.
And to be clear, is this request a feature or a bug?
This one, this is a feature.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Just testing.
Cool, thanks. Can we please assign this to Stephen? Thanks.
At the end, he said, give it to Stephen in the team. Perfect Scrum, you wouldn't do that, but he's been working on the leaderboard, so why not? Now, I just want you to... Did I just close this? Okay. Let's start from the beginning again. Okay. All right. Just doing a recap here. Where was I? Past Troy, and we did this one. Okay. So that's what this is what it created. Look at this. It puts it in YakShaver. It says breakdown leaderboard by bugs and features. Give it to Stephen, and there's the users. Okay. So, great. And if you open that, you would see it looks like this. It's got the video of Yuli, and he has me next to it, which kind of is really useful. Like, I'm often in a call with somebody, and then I say at the end, okay, do we all agree with this? Yes, done. So it's really, really helpful.
How to pick up the other 2 people? Were they part of the project?
Oh, yes, let me just, so Justin has just asked a question. How did it pick up these ones? So these guys are part of in our case, we use Dynamics, and every project that we work on is a Dynamics project in there, and that has a link to the GitHub issues, right? So that's how we're linked. Everybody does a little different, but that's how it's picked up the important people there. Okay. All right, so there you go. So I want to just zoom out just so you understand how this changes your software development lifecycle. You quickly don't have to think, where does that backlog live? You don't need to think about who to CC. You don't need to worry about picking up the organization's work item template. Now, this is what I do, put a screenshot, a nice figure, and I kind of make it a big deal to get my subject right. I do look at it a few times. I even put emojis in there, etc., especially if this is a bug. I like making something like a warning emoji or a big red box if I care about it. So what's the core issue title and description? Throw in the acceptance criteria because I'm a Scrum white robe. Screenshot, URL. How many people send you an email without the URL? Okay? My goodness. And the repro steps if it's a bug. So I want you to think for a second, how long does it take to write a bug? Because I did some research on this. I was curious how long. I had a figure in my head. Connell, how long?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. All right. 15. 25. What? 20. I thought we were going up. Okay, have we got Accenture consultants here? Okay. Look, if you think about some hairy bugs, takes a long time to repro. If you think about some big features where you have a number of people Let's add them in their time. Sometimes you can be agonizing over something for an hour and you could have 4 people there. That's 4 hours, isn't it? But I did some deep research on this, and you can go to this YakShaver discussion, but inside this deep research article, you'll see that people have done big studies on this. And essentially, they talk about bugs take typically, if you include all the time, when a developer then asks you, what did you mean by that 3 weeks ago when you sent this to me? It's about 15 minutes to 3 hours. That's the average, okay? There's big and there's little ones.
Bugs and features.
Bugs and features, yes, thanks. So, and that's how long it takes. So we are assuming we take half an hour, okay? We're taking, because if you take the big end, it's too much. Take the little end, it's too small. So with YakShave, almost all the issues are around a minute on average, right? So what we decided to do was show that. So if you think about how many PBIs you created in the last week, multiply that by 30 minutes and by the rate of your developer. Now, you will then have the dollars. Think about it. So this was our old leaderboard. Look at this. We had, Yuli making 24 and Josh and Lewis, and that was 72 hours saved. So we decided to put this on here, and by the time we put it on there, people were using it more. So 27, 24, okay? So we have 193 shaves in the last 30 days, and if that's 96 hours, that's 9,000 US dollars, unless that's changed recently. Okay, so I'm actually just curious, who prefers the simple one like this, and who prefers complicated? Who goes for simple? Who prefers the extra total at the top? Almost everyone, okay. Everyone except one. Okay, good. So that's what we ran with. So we're pretty happy with that. In fact, if I just looked at that now, see how that was 1 month ago, 193 shaves of us using it inside our company. We have 100 developers in our company. They're mostly .NET developers. And if I look at that now, it's 419. So you can see as people get on, they never get off. They just use this. It's so much simpler. So we're at, right now, 419 for the last 30 days, and that's only the top 30, actually, so we don't even have everyone. And that has the totals there. And I think it's a really interesting proposition. And if you come down to, if I go to the homepage of YakShaver here, and we put this little calculator down this page, for you to, if you're being charged $100 an hour, and you're saving, say, 50 hours, that's $4,000. Okay, so just a little calculator here. It could be $200 an hour. That's how much. And if you're on you've got more employees, it changes. So it keeps, there's a lot of time spent doing this stuff. All right, so let's continue. So it's not just about quick work items. It has a massive impact in your whole business. Meetings stay more on track. There's no back and forth between messages from devs and product owners. Your developers have everything. Like the definition of ready goes away. And this has been an interesting one. And you can probably talk to Yuli and Callum out there, but the amount of bugs and features being reported is a lot more than product owners are used to. It's really easy, and so people report a lot of things. As soon as we had a bug on our homepage, we had, 5 people reporting the same thing very, very quickly, like within an hour. Now, I want to talk about those people in your company that do not record good bugs. This is always a problem. And there's 2 people, like a sales guy and a marketing guy, that do this type of thing. So we use Tina on our site, and in this case, the main branch switch was not working. And so this guy, Louis, he goes, I'm trying to switch between branches on the homepage, it's not working. Can someone fix this? I don't know who. He's not assigning it to anyone. And then there's a person, Mike, who does not write them very well usually, and then I saw the same thing come from him. I did not expect him to do such a nice bug report. Unable to switch to main branch in admin on SSW website. He CCs all the right people. Hi team, watch this video. Here's my pain, here's the URL, here's the acceptance criteria. All he's doing differently than Louis is using YakShaver. Amazing. All right, let's talk about the lessons learnt. And we learnt a lot of lessons building this. And by the way, as I came in here, I was talking to Heather out the front from NDC in Oslo, and she thought the YakShaver was some device, some shaving device. She didn't know what it was. What did it have to do with AI? So maybe you have to rework that name, not sure. So this is the way it started, and I do think this is interesting in terms of the front load and the back load of building a project. Now, we run this brainstorming in each city once a year. So we run a few brainstormings every year where everybody in the company comes together and they just talk about the pain that they have on different things in your company. We've documented it. I would recommend if any of you guys want to do it, you can read how we do it and take some of the ideas. But it's about using the brains of your company, and we talk about how we do it, exactly how we do it, so you can have a look. Now, what I want you to know is back in February, Yuli submitted an idea for brainstorming, and he said, let's do an AI task router, which we'll call Stay on Target. Adam and some people often discover problems that need to be fixed while already in a meeting with one or more people. The current process, open up an email call and someone explain the problem. You know, this can be disruptive. Can we use AI to make this less? And just for context, you can see he's put a 21-minute video here to explain the problem and the possible solution, because he wants everybody in the company to vote for this one, right? So, just so you know, just for context before I show it, this is my ringtone. I love this song.
There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch and it's bringing me out the dark.
All right, I shouldn't play the whole thing, but I do want to. And then I always tell people, when we're talking internally, we should talk as we do with our clients. So don't have all the junk. Don't have your debug window open. Don't have toolbars at the top here. Make sure you zoom it out to 125 so it's cleaner. I don't want to see all this stuff, right? So that's what you should always do. And then I say, if there is a bug, we work on bugs before new features. So don't step over bugs, right? Just for a little bit of context. Now, this is what he did.
Okay, hi everyone. We are this team, Team YakShaver. By the way, sorry, I just renamed the team. I haven't told you guys yet. It was Quick Tasker, and then it was Task Yeeter. We've been through some iterations. So now we're YakShaver, and we are the cyberpunks. So Callum was also joining us online. We have the same agenda as everyone else, so we'll just skip past that. You all know this pain. You've been working on a task for a couple of days. It's the sprint goal. Your sprint review is this afternoon, and you only have one task left on your board. There's one problem. You check, maybe he's free. Look, he's not in a call. I could get him. I'll just calling in 1 minute. Oh, no, okay, no, all right. That's okay, that's all right. We'll try this afternoon. So, you come back, you manage to get him on a call. He answers. You share your screen. Can you hide your toolbar? Yes, Adam, yep. Can you zoom to 125? Yep, zooming. So you open up YouTube, you're showing your done video, and this reminds him, I think he just saw Mike sharing one of your videos on LinkedIn. Hang on, was that following a rule? Let's call Mike in and just make sure, you know what, it wasn't. Let's draft an email while we've got Mike on the call. Yeah, okay, no, I think we're happy with that. Right, we did good work today, didn't we? We got that rule sorted out, yeah. All right, 15 minutes later, you've got rid of Mike, you're back on track, you open up the done video, you press play, and then you hear this. Anyone ever had this experience? Yeah. Where's Piers? Where's Piers gone? Yeah. Are you okay, man? Was that triggering? So this.
All right, anyway, he goes through and explains all that, right? So that was the beginning of the idea. Now, here's things that we made mistakes on that day. The first thing was we did all our calculations on the price of AI usage, what we estimated. Now, back then, we're talking a year ago, a bit more than a year ago, about this pink dot. Now, as you can see, the price of AI has come down a lot in that year and continues to come down. If you look on the y-axis, this is logarithmic, 110, 1, right? So this is not really like this. It's more like straight down. It's coming down a lot. So, for example, things that we were estimating that were 60 cents are 6 cents, okay? And if you go from the year before, because it's going, we were looking at things that were $6 to 60 cents to 6 cents. So you've got to understand whatever you're estimating is coming well down, so don't rule things out based on things like that. All right, so things are getting about 10 times cheaper each year. So unviable business models are getting very viable very quickly. So whatever you do, plan for the future, not what you're doing now. Here's the other thing, and this is a real surprise. You know, we're used to doing a proof of concept, mock-ups, we show it to a client, we get approval, and we know there's a long way ahead, right? We know that we're just in spec stage and there's a long way ahead. Of course, it's somewhat similar with AI, but the problem is the solution that you get very quickly is pretty amazing, more amazing than you would expect. So what you can do in a week. In fact, for that particular day, just a few guys working on this, and the prototype they showed at the end of the day blew everyone away, and it was working. It was already working in our use case, and it was pretty phenomenal. So it will work very good for your input, your specific input, but as soon as you get other people involved and other ways of working, things that are completely working need a lot of refinement. And LLMs aren't deterministic. They're a little bit flaky, so you're not always getting consistency. And so the integration tests you might be used to are different. Expect a 90% okayness rather than 100. You can get right to near 100%, but that last bit is expensive. I actually just showed YakShaver to my wife for the first time, and she used it to send some emails, and I watched the reaction. She's an accountant. It sent it all to all the right people. It had a screenshot. It had everything, and I asked for the comment. Like, it just did what you'd take for a long time very quickly. And she was fixated, but it spelt, these accounting terms wrong. And she just said, well, it's obviously a bug, you'll fix that, right? That requires a bit of education. She's used to software being fixed, okay? So then you've got to build benchmarks and iterate on it and go back to the benchmarks and iterate. Now, Yuli is going to do a talk on this tomorrow. He's going to go all heavily through this benchmark stuff, so you'll see this in a lot more detail. This iteration is different and new. You'll love that. So you've got to watch the trends, and you've got to make sure that you avoid the AI hallucinations, and there's a few ways of doing with that, and we've documented it here. So have a look at this, but you can fix that part of it. All right, so this was a funny story in terms of how we were going to solve this, because the scenario we had in our case was almost always in a meeting. So were we going to focus on recording this when you're in a, say, Teams meeting, or should we worry about when people are solo as well, okay? And then should we build a standalone, say, XD or browser extension or whatever? And then what popped up took a little while before we realized this was super important. Keyboard shortcuts. This was really important to people. And as you saw before, I used Windows Shift R built in, okay? So now all these tools have keyboard shortcuts, but browser extensions and Teams do not. So you have to press record. All But the nice thing about when you're in Teams meeting, you get everyone's photo, the faces and things, so that's good. So the initial thing, this is how we were going to do it. We were going to, every time that you wanted to record a bug, you added a bot into your Teams meeting and then said what you wanted to say and got rid of the bot, right? That required screen permissions to record the screen, okay? That ended up being that required a lot of permissions for that, so that's not the ideal way. Then we decide, what we're going to do? We're going to monitor all the messages in the organization and do it that way, because then we can pick up when they're talking about a bug, or we can pick up the recordings. And that was awesome because we had all the metadata, all the right people to CC because they're in the call, etc. No latency at all, because when I did my Windows Shift R, I recorded it on my machine, put it into OneDrive, and there is a bit of latency there because YakShaver only finds out about it when it's gone into OneDrive. So that time to record, like those 20 seconds, there's 1 minute. And it just looks like YakShaver's asleep or something. But this way was going to be awesome. The problem was this was expensive because you need a big fancy Teams version, which is expensive. And it also, the devs were saying this is horrible. It's the ick factor, listening to everything. This is not going to be okay. So, and it also only worked for Teams, which is awesome. And lots of people are now using YakShaver without Teams at all. So our solution was whatever tool you use, you throw it into here, and it will automatically put it in there. So it will support any recording tool. The setup is you open up your screen recording tool and you tell it the folder you want it. So in our case, the OneDrive folder. Okay, and the only downside really is that setup and the latency of it copying over. The other big pain that we had was, the auth in Teams is a lot of work. It's complicated, there's a lot of stuff, basically it's a long grind to get Teams to work right with permissions. Then we had a new problem that popped up. People were recording, but then kind of stopping. And so we had to add an extra prompt to kind of ask, did it seem like they stopped recording? Okay? And then we'd have to ask in Teams, sound like you wanted to cancel the shave, is that right? Do you want to continue? Because obviously you can't kill their thing without their permission. So that's what we do. And then we had the problem of some people talking about different things, right? And when they would talk about different things, and sometimes they would talk about two products. It should work like it does in Sugar Learning, as in Time Pro, and then they're talking about two products, and then we're not sure. So we have to say, which one are you talking about? If it's under 70%, we ask them to disambiguate. Also, there might be multiple Jacks in your company, and then it says, which Jack are you talking about? So we have to ask that one as well. And the other one that popped up was some people always want it to record, and other people don't. So other people join sales calls, they don't want that in. And for me, I'm a product owner of a bunch of products. I'm always YakShaving all the time. So I want it to always be on. So inside YakShaver, you can set it to always on or always ask. All right, so that's how you set that up. All right, just those two settings. And anything over 5 minutes, we always, even if it says always, we just check. Do you really want that is that a bug report? It seems kind of long. Okay, then you have to feed in specific lingo. We use, Yuli. It thought that was Uli. And, some people say JackShaver instead of YakShaver, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so what we have is we have the transcription, we feed in the extra information, and then we fix up the script, and then we feed that through. So we insert all the project names, the usernames, nicknames, etc. And then we built a portal so people could configure everything they want. So we built that portal, and that's mainly for projects and managing their users. All right. So, and then sometimes a YakShaver will put it in the wrong project. So we'll allow them to move between, Azure DevOps or GitHub and move it to different projects, etc. Okay, so you can change the project and delete it. Now, by the way, we're probably going to kill, we just had recent discussions where we're going to kill the closed work item because you can do it by clicking open work item and doing it there. People, we're just looking at the telemetry, no one's clicking on closed work item, so they never close it this way. All right, now, when you're doing your code, right, your .NET code is going to be vastly different. It's going to have a lot of prompts in there, okay? The balance now is if you put too much prompts in, it becomes quite over the top unpredictable. If you don't put enough in, it's too rigid. So, what is the best way to return consistent output from an LLM? How do you want that the form of it to come back so you can use it in your code? Well, JSON, yeah, that's the right way. Now, what do? You ask it, hey, can you return that please in JSON? And it does. And then sometimes it will say, oh, here's the JSON. You go, what? I don't need the comment at the top, just return me the JSON. So then you say, please only return JSON, and it will do it perfectly. And then it will return the JSON later on with a comment underneath that was the JSON. You go, what? I just only want JSON. I don't need your extra commentary every now and then. So, thankfully, like this is kind of what it would do. Here's some JSON. Even though you've said, just give me JSON. It is absolutely insane. So, thank goodness we got structured JSON, right? And that was a big step forward for us. If you look at the AI documentation, you've got your text and your prompting, you've got your images, you've got your audio, and structured outputs, which they had to come first. And essentially, you set up the way you want your structure, like a calendar item here, and you say, give it back to me in that format. Perfect. So everything's good. Okay, and here is the request, strict true. And here is the structured output, beautiful JSON. So our YakShaver code is full of natural language. If you look here, you'll see like there's a comment here, identifies the key moment in it. So this is the bit about taking the screenshot at the right time. How do you do that? Well, and this is a comment here, identifies the key moment in a transcript where the user references the screen. You don't really need any comments. You can just read this. Analyze the following transcript to identify the most significant moment where the user is referencing the screen to explain the core of the task. Identify key context. Look for the moments where the screen is explicitly referenced, e.g., as you can see here in the screen, I'm looking at whatever. So we give it a lot of tips to try to tell it. Now, sometimes they're making a suggestion. So we have extra stuff about identifying actions and decisions, etc. So your code is way different than you would have ever expected it, and it's way more readable too. It's kind of crazy. All right, and if you look here, I don't know if you can tell, but it's got features that suggests we're using vertical slice architecture. And that brings us to architecture. Like at the start of every project, we sit down and we go, what are we going to do? We're going to use clean architecture, and we have a whole bunch of rules on clean architecture. And that's typically, that is kind of what we do most of our projects in. Or are we going to use vertical slice architecture, and we've got some templates on GitHub for that. Are we going to use modular monolith, microservices, etc. Okay, so since our requirements were pretty uncertain at the beginning, the safest way to go is vertical slice architecture, and that's kind of how we did that. So what I want to do now is just talk about the journey to an agent. So, and this is kind of what's next for us from here. If you look at our roadmap, we have a whole bunch of things we want to do, but one of those features clearly is going to involve MCP. Okay, that's really important. How many people here have already played with MCP? Okay, just 4, so not many. Okay, so if we were to ask that next year, I'm sure it'd be 80% of the room.
Sorry, what's MCP?
Model Context Protocol, yes. Okay, but almost nobody says that. Okay. So, sorry? AI agents, yes, yeah. Agent mode, that's all you need to know. And it's really it was invented by Perplexity, wasn't it? No, Anthropic. And it's now become kind of the standard. Okay, Microsoft have taken on OpenAI are using it. And so that's our new, and by the way, when you come to NDC next year, there's going to be many of the sessions about MCP. So, what I showed you before is a very workflow-driven model, okay? Not agent mode, for sure. And in fact, we ended up having to, if you have a look at our YakShaver, and we didn't really want to do this, but because you want people to use AI the way they use it, okay? But when we went onto our docs, we had to put this tips for creating the perfect work item. State your intent, for bugs, mention repro steps, such as first do this, then if the error occurs, but I expect it to do this. I didn't think this was really needed, but some people need it. I think this is probably the best tip of all. Just pull in a colleague and record it with them. It makes a much better bug report or feature request. Anyway, if you look at this is what is called workflow mode or non-agentic. And you go through this. Now, this part over here is the bit that will change because, we'll still have OneDrive, we'll still throw it over to Whisper, and then we'll start doing some more things. What I didn't expect was people to say, this bug here on this product and fix it on that other product and there's a broken link there. And by the way, can you send an email to Yuli because this, I never thought people would report things like that because I think that people think about what the work item will look like. So anyway, this doesn't suit random things I've never thought of. So let's look at how it will work, over the next year. You'll have your tools, you'll feed it in, you'll analyze it, and then this YakShaver will start looking at all the tools it can do and use the correct tools that it needs. Like, I need users, or I need projects, or I need to dedupe, or I need to do something that we haven't thought of. And then it dynamically makes a plan. So when I say dynamically makes a plan, it works out what to do over here. And if you think about it, this is just one plan that we thought of, but this wasn't thought of on the fly. So it would build a plan, and then it would, if I ask for that bug to be fixed, which I recorded before, it would make that plan or something similar to it that you just saw. And then we create that. If everything hasn't been done, it feeds it through and goes again. But each time it goes around, it's faster and more intelligent. Okay? It's getting more knowledge about more things until it says I can't. It might go through and not know what to do, and the second time around it's got more information, etc. Okay, so build that plan. Okay. So that MCP would allow, if YakShaver is an MCP, it would allow other models out there, or other agents, to use us as a tool, right? And and I think a lot of the smarts that you guys are building will end up being MCP, so they can be used for other purposes. So we'll implement the MCP standard. Now, here's one. This is another problem that popped up, is, a broken link would appear on our homepage and a bunch of people would report it quickly. Now, you could have it so that if it's already there, you could reject it and say, hey, it's already there. You could like this one instead. Or you could put them all there and just group them together, so when one gets fixed, they all get reported or whatever. How many people would prefer to only have one and have the other other items rejected? Whoa, that's like 90%. How many people would prefer to keep them all there, and when one gets fixed, they all get told that it's done? Okay, only 20%. All right, I'm definitely in the 20% camp. When I get an email from somebody, before I read their response, I look at what I sent them to remember what I said and to check what they're saying is everything I wanted. And if they tell me it's done, I go and check, and then I'll reply, oh, well, I'd also like this and this and this, right? I don't want to read Yuli's bug report and then, why do I particularly care about this one? Oh, yeah, okay, well, as long as Yuli's happy. I definitely wouldn't like option one. I want them all to be grouped, and one gets done and they all get moved.
Affect your metrics though.
Affect your metrics. I don't care about your metrics. I care about my understanding. Anyway, did I change anyone's mind?
No.
No one's mind.
You add items and they never get done. That's the problem.
Oh, okay. What's your name?
Aslan.
All right.
Don't follow the agile correctly.
Right. So Aslan said it's probably more important that the backlog remains clean. And having too many items on there is just noise and problems. And I agree with you on that. Okay. But I don't care about your technical problems with your team. I only care about my understanding when you say done. All right. So you will get a lot more bug reports with YakShaver or something like YakShaver, and you'll have more duplicates. By the way, this specific deduping thing could end up being, if I went back, could end up being one of the little tools that this thing calls. It would call a tool to do that. Okay. All right. And you could also visualize this. You could put all this in a vector database and see all these bugs over here. Oh, there's a few other similar ones just like this. I just did this one. I could do a few others just like that. All right. So the other thing is we take the transcript. If you notice when I recorded it, I said a few things. But we could get more intelligence from the image, and soon with the video, so I'm looking at a video, I'm saying things, I'm looking at a screen, all that can be done, but we need better AI models to do that. We can't do that right now unless we were to build it all ourselves, which we wouldn't do. The other thing is we have like sarcastic mode. We have people that go, oh, look at this is really great. Look at this, I have to click this, then this, this is fantastic. You know, I call that Callum mode, sarcastic. So we've got to pick that up. And look at this. We could feed these straight into Copilot and it goes ahead and does it. This is the future of what's going to happen, especially for that example that I gave you before, which is just a small CSS change. That will automatically be fed through here and get done. So this is going to be phenomenal when you just, when it tries Copilot and sees if it did it for you. So after 6 months of use, I can tell you that devs are getting better PBIs. I spoke to them and they said the best thing is they don't have to keep going back and having another discussion. All right, that's the best thing. So no definition of ready problems. In other meetings, things are more productive. You keep momentum. We're building software faster. Everything in YakShaver was developed using YakShaver. It was definitely eating your own dog food the whole time. You can talk to Yuli, who was the product owner. He YakShaved every feature as they went. It was amazing. And definitely the devs are happier and the product owners are happier and busier. So if you have an AI project in mind, we have learned a ton doing this AI stuff. If you have a business problem, we have great knowledge of AI. You can definitely talk to the guys at the YakShaver booth and just talk through your ideas. You might get some free advice. You might need a project done. So this is this is a summary of what we've covered. We talked about the YakShaving dilemma. I gave you a demo. We saw how words can turn into work items, and there's going to be a lot of fabulous tools that come out in the next year or so. Our lessons that we learnt, and I wish I had have seen this session a year ago. We would have saved a lot of effort. And what we're doing in the future and our roadmap ahead, and it's all MCP from here. Thank you very much for coming, and come up and I'll throw out some things. You'd get 1,000 points if you scan this, and you can pick up some merch. Thank you very much. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Specifically on YakShaver, how do you find that it handles different accents?
Oh, okay. So the question from the Scottish man.
Doesn't understand my accent.
Yeah, Scottish, right? Yes. Yes. I knew it wasn't quite Conor McGregor, more Liam Nelson. All right. So, well, I can tell you, our company is full of people from lots of accents. We haven't had a problem. We have a French team, we have a Chinese team, we have South Americans, we have everything. And the one I remember was YakShaver. That was the South Americans always saying JackShaver. We say, no, it's YakShaver. But honestly, I'm more worried about the mispronunciation of Azure than other things. I don't like hearing Azure. It triggers me. But yeah, no, it has. That's not been one of our problems.
It's really interesting because the base model is using Wisdom, and since then Universal 2's come out, Scribe's come out. There's been a few of them that came out of their own. But OpenAI just came out with another one, which is called 4.0 Transcribe, which is basically accent agnostic. It's amazing. So when we first built this, we did have some drums. Like I'm the main, I'm the product owner. I'm not very standard accent, so you can always understand me. But when we gave it to the whole company of 100 people, we found this. But as the model's gotten better, it's just less and less of an issue. So now, you'll be okay. But at the beginning, you might struggle.
I need to use that to transcribe what I'm saying to kids.
Yeah. And one funny thing is it's much, much better than the inbuilt Teams transcription. So the inbuilt Teams transcription is all over the place. But because this has all the context that it talks about, like for instance, it knows that YakShaver is a thing in our company. So when someone says YakShaver or JackShaver or anything sounds like YakShaver, it puts YakShaver in the transcript or Teams will get it wrong.
Any other questions?
So,
Justin.
feature request. So, if you're doing a feature and you may have like a supplementary document, like a spec or something like that, how you inject that into the work item or link to it?
That's a good one. So basically, Justin is saying that he might have a document. So if my recommendation for that is you have the different pages, the different URLs, like there's a bug on this, it takes you to this, it should take you to this. It picks up the URLs that you have, and I will just tell you after this session, go to YakShaver, and this is not exactly covering you, but if you go to videos and you just click on this videos and then you click on shorts, there is a short there that is almost basically what you're doing.
If you're in a Teams meeting with colleagues and you notice a problem, how long does it take you to report it? I bet I can go faster. Check it out. I found a 404 here. So what do? Inside my Teams meeting, I'm going to hit more, record and transcribe, start recording. I was already sharing my screen, so here I am. I have found a problem on the SSW website. I found a 404 at this URL. That needs to be fixed. It should redirect instead to this URL. Thank you very much.
So anyway, it goes on, but it picks up the different URLs that he's talking about and helps you.
Yeah. But what I would do is also, I would open, because
I'll take, you guys can take that off. I'll take the last question. Yes, last question.
While you were developing this product in production, where did you spend most of the time? Talking, educating users?
Teams authentication was the fastest.
Yeah.
We originally we thought this was going to be purely something for Teams. So all those other ways of ingesting videos we added afterwards. And at the beginning we were just banging our head against that wall for ages because Teams stores videos in different places with different authentication depending on how you're in that meeting. Is it a one-on-one conversation? Is it a scheduled meeting? Is it a team meeting?
Yeah. So there you go. Any more questions? Go to the YakShaver booth. Thank you very much, guys. Bye.